Portions of the following program may have been pre-recorded.
The following program's views, claims, or ideas may not reflect those of WSRR Radio or StylesRebelRadio.com.
In the Steel City, where the rivers align, Lucas and Dom crossing the battle line. Weekday mornings, it's a sportscast scene behind enemy lines in the heart of the dream. Every play discussed, every game analyzed. Cleveland's pride seen through Pittsburgh eyes. Behind enemy lines, where the passion ignites. Cleveland and Pittsburgh battling in sights. Lucas and Dom rise with the sun. Every morning at 10, let the games be fun. Tune into the waves, feel the thrill unfold. Behind enemy lines, stories to be told.
Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio, nationally local, meaning we play your local bands coast to coast. I'm Lucas Durazio, joined as always by Dom Farrow. We are happy to be back. Congratulations to the happy couple, Mr. and Mrs. Style, your radio rebel, Jules and Style, on their honeymoon over the last week. So we've taken a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back now, better than ever, and we are gearing up for week 3 of the NFL season. We are recording this on September 18th. This will be going live on Monday at 10 a.m., your Monday morning drive to survive. And Dom, big news for the people. This will be, at least for the NFL season, the final episode of Behind Enemy Lines that airs on a Monday. After this, we will be moving to Friday mornings. That's because right. We want to make sure that we can give you guys a preview of the upcoming NFL weekend. We can talk about the past weekend. Right now, airing on Mondays just kind of doesn't make sense because we're missing the games in week 3. Like right now, we're recording before those games happen. But this episode is going to come out after those games happen. Just doesn't make a ton of sense, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be moving to Fridays. Stay tuned to that. You might be hearing some other commercials of us saying that we're moving to Fridays. That'll be starting next week. So this upcoming Friday, for the people that are listening to this in 4, 5, whatever, I don't know how the math checks out on that, days, our first Friday episode will be airing. So Behind Enemy Lines, we've got the U-Haul truck. We're making the big move to Friday morning. Stick with us there, and you can really get the most out of your NFL coverage. Maybe we'll even start giving you guys some parlays heading into the weekend, some college football, some NFL football, gearing up, maybe even some college football, some high school football betting. If you can really find the degenerate who's under the bleachers taking bets on the lines on that. But hey, you never know. You never know where you're going to get that. If you actually go on Twitter, there is a guy who puts up Northeast Ohio betting lines for the football, the high school football on Fridays, and it's pretty electric.
Sometimes they're like, I think I've seen that count. Sometimes they're like massive spreads. It's like
spread is 48.5.
Yeah, it's like Palmyra minus 80.5. Holy cow!
Palmyra, is that a Yorktown?
I think that's a Pennsylvania thing. I was thinking of Parma, Ohio, I think, but Palmyra, I think, is also Pennsylvania.
Parma's got to be like plus 40 on every game. The Redmen, they got no idea what's going on. I wonder if they're still the Redmen. I'm actually not sure. But we are recording this right before week 3. We have not recorded since the start of the NFL season. So, Dom, let's get right into it. First initial thoughts of your team after being 1-1 2 weeks into the season. How are we feeling? I mean, I feel like week 1, everyone was fired up. Aaron Rodgers was back. We're looking great. We're scoring 34 points. Justin Fields is not getting his revenge against the Steelers like he thought that he maybe would. Instead, it's Aaron Rodgers getting his revenge. And then week 2, you guys forget how to field the ball on special teams. How are you feeling as a Steelers fan?
Yeah, well, first let's just say it's good to be back on this program, especially talking ball. But it's even better that we had this little time to relax before fully getting into it, because week 1, I would have told you that the Steelers were Super Bowl contenders. And I was honestly thinking like they could beat the Chiefs, and maybe they still could. I'm not too high on the Chiefs. We'll get to that later potentially. But after week 1, I really thought like maybe the only team that could beat them in the AFC is the Bills. And then after week 2, I'm like, oh, this isn't good. This is going to be a long season. Buddy. Now, there are some really good things about this team overall, and I do think they're going to make the playoffs. But there are 2 really, really bad things that are crushing this team. That's the offensive line and it's the run defense. They can't stop the run. They can't stop Aaron Rodgers from getting hit. They have no real run game on offense, mostly because of the offensive line. It's young and experienced, but there's really no excuse. They wanted to go all in on this year. You get some veterans. You get Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and the list goes on and on. They're building up this team, and there's just too many glaring spots.
They forgot about a crucial part of the entire operation.
It's supposed to be all about the trenches, and that I think they're trying to build that up naturally through the draft, getting some young guys in, and they are still young. I do have some hope. That's the offensive line. The defenses, they're too experienced to be this bad so far, and they're too highly paid as well. So it's very, very disappointing on that side. 2 weeks in a row allowing 30-plus points. TJ Watt, no sacks in either of them. There's a lot of things to be concerned about with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, I'm concerned. I definitely don't think they'd ever beat the Bills. Like, if they play them 100 times, maybe they beat them twice. But it's tough right now.
It's the NFL. I'll give them at least 10 of those games.
All right, yeah, I didn't want you to call me crazy. I was going to say 10.
No, yeah. I would give them at least 10 or 15. I mean, it's the NFL. I think if any NFL team plays 100 times in a row, I think, even if it is my Cleveland Browns who are 0-2 and have looked really bad offensively, I still think they beat the Bills at least 5 or 10 5 to 10 times.
No, you're right. That's just
I would give the Steelers 15 to 20. But yeah.
But let's say it's like in the playoffs though. I think let's say just 10 times. It's 1 out of 10. And that's not acceptable for a team that's supposed to be all in. And a team that is the highest paid defense in the NFL. It's not what it's just not good. I don't have much hope.
Yeah, and I think that's been the shocking thing is the fact that the defense has fallen off of a cliff, because that has been the cornerstone of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've talked about the last few years how bad the offense has been at some points, but the defense just keeps them in games. They end up over 500 in a slugfest. They have a lot of slugfest games where they're scoring maybe 20 points and they're still winning in the fourth quarter because the defense is playing so well. And here this year it seems to be the opposite.
And Lucas, we've been doing a podcast for a long time, dating back to like college, in different variations. It wasn't always behind enemy lines, but back when Brian Flores was the head coach of the Dolphins, I was high on him. I said he was one of the best in the league. He got fired. It's out of the league for a while. Eventually came back to be like a defensive specialist with the Steelers. They let this guy walk out the building. Now he's with the Vikings. I know the Vikings aren't amazing, but to let that guy walk out the door, I think was a huge mistake. Terrell Austin right now is the defense coordinator, just isn't getting it done. And you can say a lot of it is coaching, but the players also need to step up as well. But I think if you had Brian Flores in there, I think things would be a different story. Should never let him go.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think that he's obviously one of the elite defensive coaches in the league, and I think the Vikings have a great defense. I think that they're, even when people weren't sure about J.J. McCarthy, which is a guy who has stepped up, we might talk about him a little bit later. They're also a team that's 1-1. But even when they were unsure of what J.J. McCarthy would be, people were giving the Vikings a lot of chances because they have a good defense, and one huge part of that is their defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, because really when you think about the Vikings, like, there's no one guy that like jumps off their defensive roster to be like, oh yeah, they're studs.
Yeah.
It's just like they're a great unit overall and they're very well coached.
It's a good
and
point.
I think that is one thing that's kind of shocking to me for the Steelers thus far. Not that I've watched a ton of their 2 games, but the coaching, which again, from a Browns fan standpoint, it seems like the Steelers have always been so well coached. It seems like the defense is not as well coached, and now Caleb Johnson letting the special teams play go, where the kickoffs are a little bit hazy right now. You know, it's the new rules. Not everyone's 100% sure on them, but you know, they give up a huge special teams touchdown when I think it was tied at the time, right? Right, Dom? Am I mistaken in saying that? I think it was like around 17-17.
I believe
maybe not tied, but close. It was a tight game.
Yeah, I believe the Seahawks had just gone up by 3, if I'm not mistaken. But to be fair, I don't think he should ever have been returning kicks. He should have never been in that position. That goes back to coaching. Like, you look at that guy, do you think he should be returning kicks? He's not athletic enough. Like he's not that type of explosive player. He's a between the tackles runner. I think he could be a really good running back. I took him in the first round of my fantasy draft, my dynasty draft. Yikes. I was on the phone with you, calling you, and I don't oof me because I was on the phone with you and I said, "What are you hearing about out of Pittsburgh? Do you think Caleb Johnson's going to get some serious carries this year?" And you said, by the end of the year, he'll be RB1. and that's still possible.
And right now, I think he has 2 fantasy points through 2 weeks.
It's not looking good for him.
It's not looking great. But Jalen Warren looks awesome.
He is.
I mean,
he's looking
on
sick.
The flip side of that, Jalen Warren has been looking amazing.
There's still a good chance that Caleb Johnson could carve out a pretty big role. He could be a fantasy winner at the end of the year.
I think he can, and I think he should. I hope so. That would be awesome if he ends up being a fantasy winner. That's what I need is running backs on my team.
But like they drafted the guy.
But it's still 2 weeks in.
They drafted the guy to be Najee Harris's replacement. Like, Najee was pretty good and all, but why are we looking to replace him? Why aren't we looking to find ourselves a Christian McCaffrey or a Bijan Robinson? I know you don't get high enough draft picks because we're always like middle of the pack, but what are we doing? Like just replacing? Just I don't know. I don't get it. He's not the type of running back that I think is gonna work in the NFL.
The jury's still out on him. I mean, it's 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks into his NFL career. I don't want to be shitting on the guy, but there was a lot of really good running backs in this class, and
they've been disappointing.
They went with
so
him,
far.
And like,
to be fair,
we'll see what happens.
They've all been disappointing.
Who the running backs in this class?
Yeah, Omari and Hampton's been disappointing. Travion Henderson hasn't done a ton. I like what I've seen from Judkins, honestly. Like I think he's been the most efficient, like per touch, out of all these guys.
In their one game?
Yeah.
In the one game that he's played?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he looked okay, and I really don't think Sampson's been bad. I think we can shift now to the Browns real quick before we go to the commercial on this first segment. But yeah, I mean, the Browns 0-2, obviously. I think the rookies are encouraging. I think Harold Fannin looks awesome. I think he looks like David Njoku 2.0, where he's fully a receiving threat, and he doesn't look too bad in the run game either. The first touchdown of the year, he threw a good block on it where he looked like he was competing hard and takes pride in the run game. And that's one thing that you've heard a lot of from their coaching staff, and that's one thing that's obviously super important at the tight end position. But he's also obviously a really dynamic pass catcher. I mean, he had, 8 catches in the first game, tying with Tyler Warren for most catches by a rookie tight end, I think, ever.
Really?
I think that those two tied in their season or whatever, their NFL debut. I'm not sure exactly what the stat was, but it was some sort of historic stat line. So I think he looks really good. Sampson in the first game looked awesome. He had like 7 receptions. He had over 90 all-purpose yards. Looked really good. Run game didn't look great overall, but I was glad to see them get it going in the pass game. Offensively, the only rookie that I haven't seen that I really want them to get more involved is Isaiah Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's tough because he came in kind of late, didn't get all of the offseason stuff. So I think as the season moves on, maybe we'll see more and more of him. Mason Graham has looked really good defensively. Carson Schwarzenegger's looked awesome defensively. It's helped them that they have Myles Garrett, the best defensive player in the league, and don't even bring up TJ Watt now because he has 0 sacks. Myles has like 3 or 4 at this point.
Not saying
he has looked
so far.
after getting that paycheck, I've been thoroughly impressed with Myles Garrett, the way he's come back, refocused, and looked awesome thus far through the NFL, through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. I think that this Browns team is going to be really, really bad, and it's really unfortunate because I think their defense can be awesome. Through 2 weeks, they're number one in yards allowed, I believe. I think this defense could be sweet. During the first week of the season, I said about halfway through the game, I was like, really, with the defense playing this well, and Joe Flacco played well. He was the 5th leading quarterback in week 1 in terms of yardage. He was not really throwing the ball downfield a lot. There was a lot of checkdowns, but he was commandeering the offense, and he was commandeering drives to where they were sustained drives. Again, there was no like huge explosive plays, but like he was getting the job done. They had 2 picks that were, bounced off receivers' hands. I was saying, if we can just be efficient, take care of the ball, and have these slow, methodical drives, and the defense is playing as well as it did in week 1, and really in week 2 against the Ravens, who are a Super Bowl contender coming into this year, they also played really good in that. I think they got really hurt by some turnovers. The offense wasn't really doing anything for them. I think this defense, if they had a better offense, would be awesome. I think the fact that we're probably not going to win a game until, week 6, 7, maybe even further on, is going to hurt the defense overall, because it's just so hard to play defense like that over and over, where you're keeping yourselves in the game, especially when you're not getting wins to show for it. It's easy when you're doing it I shouldn't say it's easy. It's still hard. But when you're doing it in week 1 and week 2, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge you want to step up to and play for, because you're saying, we've still got a shot. We're keeping ourselves in it. Once you see how bad the offense is and you don't have a win to show for it after 4 or 5 weeks, guys start to quit. They start to do too much. They're not doing their jobs in the trenches or as linebackers. They're not filling the holes they're supposed to. And you just start to see a lot more big plays. The fatigue of playing that way is really going to catch up with this defense. And I think it's going to result in us getting 2 to 4 wins.
Yeah.
I kind of have said it all year. And I took the under on our win total, which was at, was it 4.5 or 5.5? I can't remember now, but
I want to say 4.5.
I'm feeling good about that under.
Yeah. You're right that they've been looking good. It's been exciting. I think like all off season, you were worried that this team was just going to be unwatchable. Like, you were excited about Joe Flacco, but overall you thought this was just going to be it just would be exhausting to watch. And so far it really hasn't been. Like, they've given you excitement. They've given you something. But like you said, that fatigue is going to wear on this team at some point, and you're going to get to that point in the season where it's like, I wish this is going to end. But I do think, like the Browns always do, somehow they'll make it exciting at the end. I think maybe Shador will get in there. You'll always be bought in to this team the whole season, but it's going to be long, and I do think that under bet could be safe.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. Dylan Gabriel came in at the end of this week 2 game against the Ravens, commandeered a drive. They scored a touchdown at the end of it, threw a touchdown to Dylan Sampson, which really hit I had a 7-leg parlay. Dylan Sampson had 3+ catches on there. His 3rd catch was on the final drive in the end zone. So that was huge. Now I'm a huge Dylan Gabriel fan. They're saying still no quarterback change yet, even though Joe did look atrocious in week 2. I'm not going to lie. He didn't look accurate. He didn't look like he was going through a lot of reads. He looked slow physically and mentally. His arm just doesn't look as accurate as it did 2 years ago. It doesn't look as strong as it did 2 years ago either, and it's worrying to see. I think, like you said, it's kind of exciting to see how good the defense is playing, and like that if we played well, we could have a chance. But in the back of my mind, it's disappointing more than anything, because it's like we're wasting another year of Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett's prime, and these 2 young rookies who are starting and putting in really good snaps. And even Greg Newsome has looked pretty good, who is kind of been an up and down guy, but I've really liked what I've seen from him thus far this season. It is somewhat exciting, but I think overall it's just kind of disappointing, because it feels like it's going to be a waste of an effort.
Wow.
And because of that, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of like I said. It's sad to see that there's guys out there playing their ass off and they're not getting any. They're not going to get rewarded in wins because the offensive side of the football has just been so bad.
Yeah, and as good as the running backs have been, they've made Joe Flacco do a lot. He's not a quarterback at this point in his career where he can take on a big load. At this point, he's thrown a lot.
Sad thing is
these 2 weeks.
The sad thing is we didn't think that he'd have to, because it was like, all right, we have a young stable of running backs. We have Sampson and Judkins and Ford, and the run game has not gotten going at all. I think the offensive line's been moved around a little bit. There's always injuries. Jack Conklin, I'm sure got injured again. I'm not even positive, but I feel like he got injured again in week 2. I really like the guy, but he's just very injury prone. It's tough to see. I do think it's going to be a really, really long Browns season. I mean, when you look that good coming out week 1 and it's against a divisional rival and you're 2 kicks away from beating them, it's just ones you got to have, and it does not set the tone for the season right. And it's disheartening. And here in week 3, they're playing the Packers, who have looked amazing thus far. I'm going to the game to see them in the all-brown unis, the Alpha Dogs, and
Sponsored
I'm
by
fully
Dude Wipes.
ready for a massacre. That's right. The all-browns, sponsored by Dude Wipes. Stick with us here. Maybe we'll preview that game a little bit more and get into more of what we've seen thus far through 2 weeks in the NFL. This is Behind Enemy Lines.
Hi, this is Melissa,
And hey, it's Matt.
coming at you from Synergy Music Studio.
We are a recording and production studio located on the south side near Chicago.
Check us out online at synergymusicstudio.com. We offer recording, mixing, and mastering.
And follow us on Instagram at Synergy Music Studio. Rock hard.
If LimeWire taught us anything, your digital music is free and open to piracy, and even manipulation when it comes to digital distribution. So why settle for a bunch of ones and zeros floating around on the internet? Make your release something special with Hellbender Vinyl. Hellbender is one of America's most trusted custom vinyl record pressing plants and works with local artists to get their next release pressed exactly to their liking. So check out Pittsburgh's first and only custom vinyl pressing plant today by visiting hellbendervinyl.com to get started. And don't forget, all customers at Hellbender Vinyl get 5 free test presses at no additional charge. Hellbent on quality, hellbent on service, hellbendervinyl.com.
Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio, brought to you by Clearview Windows, serving Northern Ohio with over 30 years of experience. Clearview Windows is more than just words on a sign. Google Clearview Windows by J.D. Miller today. They are a locally owned, American first quality business that has been servicing Northern Ohio for over 30 years, Dom. I already said it that they had 30 years of experience, but they've been servicing for over 30 years. Speak directly to the owner, J.D. Miller, today for you to get old or drafty windows replaced with energy-efficient windows at a fair and reasonable price. That number is 330-521-0965. Did you know that old and drafty windows can cost you between $100 and $600 a year, Dom? Your energy bill is going to fly through the roof if those old and drafty windows are letting the old and drafty air out. All right, 330-521-0965. Call our boy JD for some energy efficient windows. One more plug for us real quick. We will be moving to Fridays. This upcoming Friday will be our first Friday episode of Behind Enemy Lines, so stick with us on our new day. Same show, new day, Friday mornings for Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be going into the entirety of the NFL schedule. We can preview the upcoming and discuss the past. And Dom, we're going to discuss the past right now. 2 weeks in, you wanted to talk about your contenders and pretenders. We're 2 weeks in, so we're a little bit early for this, but I think there are some clear things to talk about, you know, the hype that was coming in the offseason on some teams that now seems misplaced. And, the sleepers that are maybe making a little bit of noise in the league right now. Dom, who's your first contender or pretender of the year?
Well, there are a lot of contenders, and there are a lot of them that the usual ones, the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs. But I want to talk about the ones that maybe weren't quite on your radar, who I think are legit Super Bowl contenders. And the first one is the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm loving the way that Harbaugh is coaching this team. I'm loving the way the defense is looking ferocious, tenacious. Justin Herbert has been the most important factor, though. He's really stepped it up. It looks like he's taken it to the next level in his game and getting help by some other trusty receivers. Ladd McConkey getting another year. Quentin Johnston looking like he's no longer suffering from the drops as well.
He's back.
He might be, and a lot of people wrote him off, and sometimes it just takes guys time to get used to the NFL. Like, we're so used to these rookie wide receivers now jumping out right away and being like a top 5 guy in the NFL. Not everybody's Jamar Chase, not everybody's Malik Neighbors. I think Quentin Johnston is growing to be a really, really solid receiver in the NFL. He's been a big factor in why Justin Herbert's having a lot of success so far this year. So the Chargers are one of those teams right now that they were definitely probably favored to make the playoffs, but I don't think anybody was seriously considering them for the Super Bowl. But after 2 weeks, from what I've seen so far, I'd take them over the Chiefs right now, I think.
After Slater went down, a lot of people were saying this could be the year from hell for the Chargers. No one seemed to want to touch them. No one wanted to talk about them. Herbert was social media quarterback. Another guy that was slept on a little bit and people wrote off at receiver, Keenan Allen. I think that, bringing him back to L.A. and, I don't even know what his stats look like. I don't know if he's done all that much, but having a guy like that in the room is really big. And I think that could be, helping Quentin Johnston a lot, just on the mental side of everything. I think that Quentin Johnston right now could kind of have a career similar to another Charger, Mike Williams, where I feel like right out of the gate, Mike Williams didn't do a ton in the NFL. He might have even been hurt his first couple years. I don't think that anyone was calling him as much of a bust as they were calling Quentin Johnston, but I think that he really grew into a really solid receiver, that big guy who can make contested catches. And I think that Quentin Johnston kind of has that same archetype of a receiver, and I think that he can fill into that role pretty well. So we'll see. I mean, I think that they have kind of the slot receiver who can be a route running savant in Ladd McConkey, and now they have a veteran receiver on the other side in Keenan Allen who can lead that group. But yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing from the Chargers thus far. Another team that I think is frisky and fun, and I don't know if they're real contenders yet. I think it's a little too early to sound that alarm, but definitely a team that no one was talking about. The Indianapolis Colts, 2-0, man.
Yeah,
I think
bad.
that they got some lucky breaks in that game in week 2, right, where they had some plays against the Broncos and they missed a field goal, but the Broncos touched the long snapper and something happened and they got to retry at it. But how about Daniel Jones, man? He's been sitting on my fantasy bench. I should have been playing him over Joe Burrow the first 2 weeks. I would have won week 1 if I play him over Joe Burrow, who had 8 points. Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, as people are calling him, had 29.
That's right.
I think that this could be a really fun team. I think that Michael Pittman is a guy, he's another receiver that people, I wouldn't say they wrote him off, but they kind of forgot about him. He's in Indianapolis. He's not doing anything too exciting. I think that people thought he was going to be really amazing when he first, had a breakout season. And he's fallen off a touch. I think Josh Downs is a good receiver.
What you said about Pittman, I think you could say the same thing about Jonathan Taylor. He's looked really good so far, too. A guy who a lot of people, I'd say, wrote off. People were calling him washed. Couldn't believe it. He's been looking unbelievable so far.
They said he was a one-year wonder.
But I if I had to say contender or pretender, they're pretenders, unfortunately. They're exciting. So? They're exciting, but 2-0, it's too good to be true. But I gotta say, I definitely said back in the summer or spring that I wouldn't mind if the Steelers got Daniel Jones, because I do believe that he's got a little something in him.
Yeah.
They could be
I think
good.
He's got some zip.
They could sneak into
I think
the playoffs.
he's got some pop. I like Daniel Jones, and I like him for my fantasy team. Pretender for me, I think it's got to be the Broncos. They're just 1-1. They struggled in week 1 against the Titans, who I think people are writing off a little bit. Cam Ward, I think, has looked really good, even against the number 1 defense in the league, who is the Broncos. In week 1, he looked decent. They didn't score a ton of points, but then in week 2, Cam Ward has had some beautiful throws, some really showing off that arm talent. I think that Cam Ward's arm talent is what Will Levis thought his arm talent was. And it was kind of just the ultimate smack in the face when he did that underhanded pass that worked out instead of looking like a fool like Will Levis's was last year. So yeah, I think they've got their guy in Tennessee. But going back to the Broncos, I mean, they struggled against a rookie quarterback and a decent defense in Tennessee. But this was supposed to be a Super Bowl contender team. Some people were picking them to win the division over the Chiefs and Chargers, and now they're 1-1. They lost to the Colts, and even though I did just say I'm liking what the Colts are doing, like, just on paper, they should beat the Colts, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And this was the team that everyone was hyping up. 2025 was going to be their breakout year. Bo Nix is going to really step into his role. Sean Payton is his father figure, basically, and he's going to be awesome. And RJ Harvey's going to step in and immediately make a huge impact at running back, which he has. He's been decent so far, but I think that for the hype that they were getting in the offseason, they're maybe playing with their food a little bit, but I don't know if they came in overconfident or what it is, but they don't look like the team that people thought they would.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're seriously dropping in my personal power rankings. But I do think we both had the under on their win total in our previous episode.
What was their win total?
It was
too
must
have
high.
Been pretty high.
It was always too
what
high.
Was it
they,
at like
they were
10
always
and a half?
Something ridiculous. They were always getting gassed up. It might have even been 11 and a half. But the Broncos, I'm not super impressed with them so far. I think that you give them some time, though, they might be able to heat up. But this is a team that I just genuinely don't think has enough. Their defense is really solid, but Sean Payton, a lot of people say, oh, these coaches, time passes them by. I think Sean Payton, the time passed him by a long time ago. He's not going to win a Super Bowl again in the NFL. You can book that. You can bet on that. I can guarantee that's not happening. It's the Broncos are definitely pretenders in my book as well.
All right, now a team to go to for the contenders portion of this segment is the Browns Week 3 matchup. The Packers. They've looked awesome. Micah Parsons is a great fit. He's played awesome, and I think he's really showing that Jerry Jones blew it in this contract negotiation. He's looked amazing thus far. People kind of thought that Matthew Golden would just be another wide receiver 3 that the Packers have, which they have 4 wide receiver 3s, but I think he's looked a little bit better than I thought for sure, because that was one thing. When they drafted him, I kind of said I think they have a great receiving core. Why would they take another receiver? But he's looked pretty good. Jordan Love has looked super confident and good. Josh Jacobs, even though he is getting towards the end of his career, still looks good. And he still looks like a powerhouse of that offense. And in week 2, how about Tucker Kraft getting involved? I mean, he was probably their best player on offense in week 2.
He was definitely their best receiver there. Golden, I think there's a lot more that you're going to see from him. But Jaden Reed's going to be out for several weeks. I don't know how that's going to affect the team, but I think the biggest thing, like you said, adding Micah Parsons, that defense has been looking phenomenal. Probably the best defense in the league so far. If you had to guess where they are as far as betting odds, favorite to win the Super Bowl right now, where would you think the Green Bay Packers are?
I'd say probably plus 450, plus 300, something around there.
So plus 650, but what rank as far as teams? Do you think they're
probably 4 or 5?
That's pretty good. Like, they shot up. I wonder where. I'm not sure where they were before the season, but right now they're third. Ravens, Bills, Packers. They're ahead of the Eagles and Chiefs. That's a little surprising to me. But that's how good they've been looking so far this season.
I think it's a little early to put them over the Eagles. I mean, who have they played thus far? They played the Lions, who are good.
I think the Eagles at plus 750 is insane. I think they've looked the best by far. They're dominant.
I might have to
jump on that.
$20 on that.
We have to invest in that for the program.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked awesome. Now, it's going to be tough to be that dominant throughout the entirety of the year. You know, it is a long season. But who did the Packers just play in week 2? Now, the Commanders, who I think a lot of people were waiting for that year to, dip a little bit. It seemed like the stars were kind of aligned last year. They had a good schedule and new coach and things like that. People were expecting that dip. So the Packers beat them. They beat the Lions, who came into that game, first time with a new offensive coordinator, not having Ben Johnson. Also, both of those games were at home. They've looked really, really good in both of those games, and I'm sure they're going to look really, really good in week 3. But how long will it last? And I do think that putting them over the Eagles is a little ridiculous. I think that's, getting on the hype train really early. And I think it's right that they're over the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs may be pretenders this year. I think it's hard to put them into that category because they have Mahomes and they have Andy Reid, but I don't know. I mean, they're obviously, they're 0-2. Obviously 2 really tough first matchups, a divisional matchup against the Chargers on Thursday night, and then, against the defending Super Bowl champions in the Super Bowl rematch. But they've looked really bad. They look out of sorts. Travis Kelce looks like a complete different guy who is like really, buying into the celebrity lifestyle over the football player lifestyle. It seems like he's been an issue more than anything.
He's been doing this for a while. I mean, there's not many tight ends who are playing at this age. The tight end position really just in general, he shouldn't be a focal point of this offense at this point. Xavier Worthy going down hurts. Losing Rashee Rice hurts a lot. They're going to be very good, very strong towards the middle point, back end of the season. I do think so far the offense has been bad. Like it's not been good at all. But I do think that they're always contenders. They always will.
Yeah, I think they will be, and I'm sure they'll find a way to make the playoffs and win a playoff game or 2 or 3. But I don't know if they're good enough to stay in games to where at the end Mahomes kind of saves them. I'm thinking that their fall off a little bit, they might, just put themselves out of games a little bit where at the end it's kind of too little too late for Mahomes. And I don't know I just don't know if this will be their year where they can conjure up the same magic. I think that something's off, and I don't know if I don't know. I hate to blame one guy, but I have seen a lot of clips where it seems like Kelsey's causing some serious issues on the field.
Yeah, he's not looking good at all. But there's no excuse for them having Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously do not have the best roster around Mahomes. So I am out on the Chiefs for this year, but we hope you are in on the rest of the show. Stick with us through the break. This is Behind Enemy Lines right here on WSRR Radio.
What's the difference between the shirt you're currently wearing and the one that I am? Well, both do their job of concealing us from the outside world and social boundaries. But one little black swoosh makes yours cost nearly double. That red rectangle may not change how warm you are, but it certainly changes the price tag. The truth is, nobody cares about the details. Get to the point with GenericClothes.com. Have a laugh at the big brand clothing company's expense with shirts that simply say sports team, political statement, music band, and more. A shirt for any occasion and the perfect gift. GenericClothes.com.
We are back here on WSRR Radio. This is Behind Enemy Lines, your Cleveland sports talk show from Pittsburgh, brought to you by Hellbender Vinyl. Hellbender is Pittsburgh's first and only custom vinyl record pressing plant. They are one of America's most trusted record pressing plants, and they are perfect for local and independent artists, just like the ones we play here at WSRR Radio, who want to take their album release to the next level. Don't settle for a bunch of ones and zeros floating around the internet. Have a physical album release with Hellbender Vinyl. Check them out at hellbendervinyl.com. Hellbent on quality, hellbent on service, hellbendervinyl.com. Dom, we are here with our final segment on what could be our final Monday morning show of Behind Enemy Lines, as we are moving to Friday mornings right here on WSRR Radio. So come check us out this Friday morning. And Dom, we are doing our Pretenders and Contenders through 2 weeks of the NFL season. Again, we are recording this on September 18th, Thursday night, and we just witnessed a Tua Tagovailoa interception to the Bills defense, which won me $5. Got to throw a $1 bet on Tua throwing a pick on that drive specifically too. So an absolutely massive pick there. But Dom, Contenders and Pretenders for our 2025 season. You have one that you said is going to get the people going during the break. What do we got?
Yeah, this one might hurt the fellow Browns fans listening, but the real contender, the one who might be looking the best, MVP frontrunner in my mind, Baker Mayfield. The guy's been slinging it. He's been clutch. And this past week, he eclipsed enough passing yards where he would have become the Browns' all-time passing leader. And that one hurt. That one hurt even me to read as a Steelers fan. It's like, this guy, he could have been the guy. And he honestly, I put it partially on him. Like, he should have sat out the end of that year when he was clearly hurt. If he never did, I think he'd still be a Brown, and Deshaun Watson. This whole thing would have never happened if he would have sat out. So I don't put it all on the Browns, but so far the Buccaneers are looking really good. The defense is looking great as usual. Year after year, they always have a good defense over there in Tampa Bay. But Emeka Egbuka filling in nicely with that Buccaneers wide receiver room. And of course, Bucky Irving, Rashad White, a nasty backfield. But yeah, Baker Mayfield is the guy so far for me. The Buccaneers are a true contender to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, there's zero lies in everything that you just said there. It hurts a lot to see Baker slinging it like that. Emeka Egbuka is a shoo-in for the Offensive Player of the Year, the Offensive Rookie of the Year, right? I mean, like, there's through 2 weeks, there's no one else who there is even in the conversation. Yes, it is very early, but he looks awesome. He looks like a 5-year pro already. He looks like an absolute stud. And you can go back during the offseason, I was saying it. This guy's going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I don't know why people aren't talking about taking him higher, because he's a stud. He called his own shot in week 1. In his NFL debut, he said, throw me a post route on this, and we're going to go win the game. And that's exactly what he did, which is awesome. But yeah, Baker is looking awesome. He's slinging it. A huge drive on Monday night to win the game. You know, led the Bucs right down the field and put them in position to win. Rashad White with the rushing touchdown. Bucky Irving has looked amazing as well. Like you said, defense is looking good. Mike Evans still doing it, just continuing to find a way to do it, even in the twilight of his career.
Still got it.
Yeah, they're a contender, and it makes me really upset to see. I've gone on record so many times to say I can't blame the Browns for taking the shot on Deshaun Watson. It's the NFL. Your windows to win are small, and sometimes you got to take big swings on a guy that at one point looked like he could be an MVP caliber guy. And obviously it did not play out. It's a huge fumble. Hindsight's 2020. You can't really say too much about it because, again, it's an unfortunate situation in Cleveland, and now to see Baker doing that, and like you said, he would be the all-time leader in Browns passing yards. It's a real gut punch, man. It is a real gut punch, and because of that, I'm gonna default and let you say the next one because I just need to sit with my thoughts for a moment.
I wasn't even ready for next one, but I'll get you one. I was thinking.
Give me one more before we jump into our Monday night preview because we got a good one tonight on Monday Night Football.
That's right. As far as teams go, I think the 49ers might be pretenders. The Rams, they're sneaky contenders. Commanders, pretenders potentially. But the
Jaden
sneaky
Daniels looking like he's going to be out in week 3. Marcus Mariota is the quarterback that I'm playing against in fantasy this week. He's starting Marcus Mariota and Tyrod Taylor. So if we don't pick up a win here, we're 0-2 already. So if we don't pick up a win here, it's going to be
tank.
It could be dark times for my fantasy team. It might be rebuild mode.
Might time to tank if that happens. But I think the sneakiest contender is the Atlanta Falcons. I think their defense has looked tremendous so far. Really did well against a Vikings team that looked really good in the first week against the Bears.
And they're a field goal away from going to OT with the guys who you just said were contenders in the Buccaneers in week 1.
That's right. And J.J. McCarthy hasn't looked really good the whole time while doing it. Like, this team is just, the Vikings are just overall good. But the Falcons,
I was going to say, who are we talking about here? The Falcons or the Vikings? You threw me off.
Sorry, I was talking about, like, I thought we were talking about the Vikings. Like, they've been looking good so far, and for the Falcons to beat that team.
You brought up the Falcons. What are you talking about? We weren't talking about the Vikings. I think the Falcons look good.
I think the Falcons are
Penix
contenders.
looks pretty good thus far.
Penix looks
good thus far. I mean, Ray McLeod's getting it done. Kyle Pitts, is this his year finally?
Kyle Pitts is looking good. I mean, he's doing what tight ends need to do. But I think Drake London, that Penix connection has been special. Bijan Robinson is finally getting the role that he deserves, being a real receiving threat as well. But the defense has been the biggest part about that team, and I don't think enough people are talking about it right now. They're heavily slept on in my mind. I think they're going to be decent. I think they're going to be competitive. And towards the end of the year, they honestly might be competing with the Buccaneers for that spot out of that division. But I do think the Buccaneers are the better team overall. But look out for the Falcons. Just keep an eye out for the team because I think they're going to stack wins throughout the year and be up there in playoff contention.
Dom, I'm ready to jump onto that contenders train for the Falcons. In fact, so much so that today I was at a thrift store and I was going through the racks and I find a vintage Falcons crew neck and I said, I'm going to buy this. This is a beautiful piece of clothing. It's got the old Falcons Dirty Bird logo on it. Got to support friend of the program, Dylan Drummond, on the practice squad of the Falcons now in year 3 of the NFL. So I said, I'm definitely getting this. There wasn't a price tag on it either. And I was like, I kind of don't want to spend like $50+ on this, which was what some of the other stuff was priced at. So I walk in and I ask the owner, who I've known for a little bit now, and I was like, hey, what about this? It doesn't have a price tag on it. He goes, $15. Go ahead and take it. So I was fired up. It seemed like serendipity. It seemed like it was meant to be. So I'll jump on that train. And with just a couple minutes left here in the show, we will jump into our Monday night preview, possibly the final Monday night preview that we do on the show. Again, we are moving to Fridays. So if I haven't drilled that into your head enough throughout the episode, or if you're just joining us now, Behind Enemy Lines will be moving to Friday mornings, still right here on WSRR Radio. So our Monday night preview, the Detroit Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. I think this could be a really, really fun matchup. The Ravens 1-1 after dropping a game to the Bills, who everyone says is looking really good right now. The Bills are up on the Dolphins in week 1. Ravens losing in really improbable fashion at the end of that week 1 game as well.
What a game that was.
Against, again, probably the best team in the league. And the Lions, who got beat pretty handedly in week 1 by the Packers, had a huge bounce back against their former offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. Right now, the lines are set at, the Lions are plus 4.5, Ravens minus 4.5. What the number that I'm really looking at, though, is the over and under set at 53.5.
That's high.
Dom, I'm thinking I'm taking the over. I know it's high, but The Ravens scored 40 points last week. Again, it was against the Browns, but what can you say? I mean, it's 40 points is 40 points in the NFL. And the Lions scored 50 points. It was against the Bears. And, people will say what they want to say about the Bears. But again, scoring 50 points in the NFL is nothing to scoff at. I'm taking this over. I mean, when you really think about it, this game that we're watching right now is the Dolphins and the Bills. It's 21-28. That's 49. I think that's pretty close. And I wouldn't doubt that, these teams can score more than that. It's really not quite as high as you might think for two teams of this caliber. I would take that over 53.5.
That one seems like a trap bet to me. Ravens and Lions.
It probably is. It probably is, and I'm the person who's going to get trapped because that's me.
Like, how many points have the Ravens defense even allowed this year? It hasn't been very much. They've been very, very successful.
What are you talking about? They gave up 41 in the first game to the Bills.
But it's the Bills. Like, you saw what their defense was doing.
And then they played
a lot of those points weren't really
the worst
off
team in the league.
Defense being poor. Like, that defense played well overall. They shouldn't have lost that game. The defense has been just fine.
I think it's tough to judge the Ravens defense thus far because they've played against the best offensive in the league, the best offense in the league, and then probably the worst offense in the league back-to-back weeks. And they've scored 40 points against both. Obviously, I know I was just talking about the defense, but their offense has scored 40 points 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that their defense is really good, and I think they can be really good. But I don't know, in a game like this, I think it's just going to be hard to keep up. I'd take that over. Who are you looking at?
If this was a 1 p.m. game,
what do you think?
If this was a 1 p.m. game, I'd take the under because it's a prime time Monday night. I like the over. I don't hate it.
Okay, I like that. I like what you're saying right there. What are you thinking about for the line though? Money line. The Detroit Lions are at plus 190.
I mean, I'm thinking the Ravens for sure. 100%.
Yeah, home game. It's in Baltimore. Ravens are minus 230.
I like the spread. I like 4.5 points with the Ravens. I think they've been that dominant this year. I think they're going to go in there and beat them pretty bad. Maybe an alternate spread, minus 6.5. What do you say, fellas?
I don't mind that. I could see them winning by a touchdown or more. I think what I'm looking at, though, now I'm looking at some of the player props in here, all right? I'm taking some looks. I like Jameer. I'm getting into the weeds of it, the real degenerate gambler stuff, because I want to cook up a nice same game parlay.
SGP.
I'm looking at Jameer Gibbs, 25-plus receiving yards in this one is right now is set at minus 105. Derrick Henry's rushing yards line, 80 or more, is set at minus 150. I'm liking a couple of things like that.
Just cooked up a nice SGP with just those two.
That's right, and I usually like to look at receptions as well. I'm trying to look.
That can be tasty.
Trying to find that here. I'm really scrolling through this.
What's the Mark Andrews
receiving props?
What's the Mark Andrews reception? If it's 2.5, I take the over. Is he playing this week?
All right, I'm not sure if it's because it's too early, but the only receptions over-unders right now are for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, and Jameer Gibbs, all Lions players. So I'm not sure why that is.
What's Laporta?
But Laporta is at 4.5.
Oof, that's a lot.
I'm taking the over on that.
Really?
I don't care. I'm taking it on that, and I think maybe we should get some tails. We're moving we're moving from Monday morning to Friday morning. Please join us this upcoming Friday right here on WSRR Radio. This has been Behind Enemy Lines. Thanks for joining us, folks.
Tune in Friday.
The preceding program was a sponsored production. The views, claims, and ideas expressed may not represent those of WSRR Radio.